Hello everyone, coming back to you again with another video. This is Dr. Joseph Capps with our wonderful and reoccurring Dancing with the Darkness podcast. Hope and pray that all of you are doing well. Those that are return listeners, I just want to thank you so much for supporting the channel and the podcast. And for those of you that may be tuning in for the first time, this is a raw, unaccounted, and unapologetic view of CPTSD, PTSD. We talk about operator syndrome, anxiety, depression, but basically it's focused more around complex post-traumatic stress disorder, what that looks like, how it started, how we got there, why we do the things that we do, how we got to where we are in life, and most of all, it is a message of hope, because we want you to leave today or anytime you listen to a video with hope, that you can understand that your pain can be turned into purpose, that not only can it become something beautiful, but it can truly benefit those around you that are also suffering. We truly have to rely on one another, those of us that have been through this, that can give genuine compassion and empathy to really truly understand and to help us feel that we're not alone. And it's also a message of faith about God and how He is bigger than all of this. He was with us during every moment of every trauma, and He is bigger than this. And just knowing that God is bigger than this gives us that seed of hope to move on and to understand that we can thrive and become beautiful members of society that help others and healthy, and that everything that we went through has a purpose and it can be used for good. So today we're going to finish up our series on the father wound. If you've listened to the past couple videos, the first thing we did is we talked about what the father wound is. This was on the tail of the mother wound, so that we could give some distinct differences between the mother and the father wound, which are absolutely synonymous with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, because it is at the development phase of trauma. And we know that some amazing work has been done in that area of developmental trauma, and how critical that is for us to understand that was in the makings and a huge part of who we became as adults and how we function in life in general, specifically in relationships, and how we relate to the world around us and how we cope with that world. So I want to talk about today some tangible, real solutions that you can start doing today that are going to help you start understanding how you can start healing from this father wound. The caveat to that is that you have to make the decision. We do have free will given to us by God, and you have to make the decision whether or not you want to start that healing journey. And it may seem overwhelming, it may seem like it is just impossible and you've been stuck in this rut for so long, but I'm telling somebody that's entering his 50s that it's never too late. It's never too late for you to turn this pain into purpose and to plug it in a way that we can help others, and to give you some tremendous validation and affirmation as we do that. So we need to understand that it's not necessarily going to be this straightforward, line by line, structured solution for you to get over the father wound, okay? And we also need to understand that it is going to be muddled with some very difficult and painful emotions, okay? But we have talked a lot in our previous videos. I encourage you to backtrack and look at some of those. We've talked about emotional flashbacks and these things that happen, and we've given you some very solid ways to cope with that and to work yourself through that and process that. And these are going to be important, because this is going to be part of your strategy, is to allow yourself to feel the emotions, whether it be grief or whether it be sadness, whether it be anger, whatever it is. We have to let ourselves experience these emotions. We have to work through them. We have to process them. And this is how we start getting healthy. And the reasons it's so challenging, as we talk about the mother and the father wound in general, is that we were never taught the proper way to deal with emotions, or to process emotions, or to actually feel emotions in a healthy way. And so this can even be a learning experience as we work through this, how we understand the difference between primary and secondary emotions, and how we process that. It can be a learning experience as we do that, but the key is, as a child, we should have been able to experience our emotions and deal with them and develop resiliency around that. And most of us were not. We were either stifled in our emotional intelligence, or we were just not allowed. There was punishment involved if we exuded anything but what we were modeling after. And we talked about the difference in men and women, with men primarily manifesting everything in anger, and women manifesting it in different ways, such as being promiscuous and seeking approval and fawning and different things like that. And so we need to understand it's not a straightforward approach. I would love to be able to just give you an itemized checklist and for you to say, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. But these things are going to interchange. They're going to interact with one another. But at the same time, you need to understand it's completely and totally possible for you to do this. And what we realize is that whatever discomfort is involved in us processing this stuff and allowing ourselves to feel these emotions, it's far less than what we're already living in and what we're dealing with. The hamster wheel that we continue to travel on with old memories, old emotions, and continuing to be around unhealthy, toxic people. All of this is much, much worse, and it's going to be infinity and beyond, like Buzz Lightyear, if we don't make the decision that, I've kind of had enough, and I want to do something different. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but the rewards are sweet. The changes are tangible, and you're going to start feeling better. Okay, and that's the key, is as our emotional state starts feeling better, our physical body starts feeling better. Okay. We need to go back to some things in some of the previous videos. I'll talk about the protocol again. This is once again another reason why I developed the trauma discovery protocol, was that in order to process these things with CPTSD and so forth, we have to look at our attachment strategies, and we have to understand where we are with that, because it's going to look different for someone with anxious or avoidant or disorganized attachment strategies, how they're going to go forth in their healing, and how they're going to get over the mother and the father wound. Everything is related. Everything is a critical component of the other. And it's very, very important that we realize that, some profiling in that area is a very good thing. The complex trauma profiling system that I have written, it's going to identify all of these things, and it's going to cut to the chase. And that's why I've written this protocol, because I myself have gone through all of the measurements and the tests and the psychoanalysis and the pharmacology and all of these things, and none of it stuck, and none of it was right, and there was misdiagnoses and many, many other things. And so over a 10-year period, I worked very diligently to create this system, because it's going to give you the ability, when you decide to heal, to plug into something that's going to give you a profile of all of the areas in your psychological makeup that are relatable and comorbid, so that you can get some solid healing much sooner than later. And so I bring that in here not to promote the protocol, but I need you to understand how critical it is for you to understand attachment and so forth in order to get over the mother wound and also the father wound that we're talking about today, because you're going to have a much harder time with this if you have an anxious or an avoidant attachment strategy. And so recognizing that and understanding why you feel that way is going to help you process this much better. A lot of times with these unhealthy attachment styles, when we're trying to process this father wound, we're going to end up falling into patterns of avoidance, denial, or even suppression of any of the pain that we're feeling, any of the loss that we're feeling, any of the anger that we're feeling when we're trying to process this when it's surrounding the father wound. This is natural. This response is natural. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. These emotions are very difficult to feel. It's not easy. They're also very difficult to manage when we have not been taught or learned emotional intelligence or emotional maturity. So it's difficult. sometimes we don't even know what to do with them, right? We don't know what to do with these emotions, okay? So it's all part of the pie. It's all part of how we heal. The other part of this is that many families that have been through this, they may normalize father wounds. Hey, this is how my father treated me, and my father treated me this way. And so we see that this is not only a generational curse, but it's absolutely a pattern of abuse and dysfunction. That's it's a chain of abuse that's crossed generational lines. And so this is the other silver lining in this, is that when we make a decision to heal and to break this pattern and break this chain, we start going in an upward direction with our children, and they go upward, and it just continues in a much better direction. We start breaking these patterns. We start changing the generational curse and the chain of abuse and where we've been all this time. And that in itself is a tremendous reward when we see our offspring as a positive extension of ourselves instead of more negative or a product of our dysfunction. So that in itself is a tremendous validating and healing part of overcoming the mother and father wound. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit before we close the video about the difference. There's a little bit of a difference in how we want to look at it as far as a man versus a woman with our healing strategy, because of how we identify with the father. So the first thing that we have to do, honestly, is we have to get out of the denial. We talked about this the last couple of videos. We have to realize the father wound. We have to realize, what, I've got a father wound. I understand that this is something that I need to process. This is something that I need to overcome. This is something that I need to go ahead and face and understand so that I can move forward. It's going to help us with our emotions. It's going to help us with our emotional maturity, our emotional intelligence, and it's going to help us how we show up in our relationships with our intimate partners as well as with our children. So there's tremendous benefit to just acknowledging, hey, you know what, there's some behaviors, there's part of my attachment strategy, there's different things about me that are directly coming from that father wound. And this can be difficult. It's a double-edged sword. You've got one side of the equation where our father is gone and you haven't been able to have any closure or have any kind of processing, and then the other edge of that sword, which can cut even deeper sometimes, is that your parent is still alive and you're struggling with that relationship still. And so a lot of it has to do with forgiveness. When we talk about forgiveness, it's pinnacle. It's not only pinnacle for your mental health, but we also see even in the spiritual realm that much of the oppression that we get from the darkness has to do with unforgiveness, because it's leaving us open to a lot of torment. It's leaving us open to a lot of our inner and outer critic having a very strong voice in our lives. And so this is all part of how we need to stop that, is we need to forgive. So we forgive the father that hurt us, especially if they're still alive. We do what we can to salvage whatever relationship there is there with healthy boundaries, which is what I've done. I have very, very healthy boundaries. My father is at the stage in life where he's going downhill rapidly. He's in assisted living, and I've done my very best to forgive him, accept him for who he is, how he got to where he is, and then the little tidbits that are in there where we can relate to one another, and I can see something in him that I remember loving as a kid. These are the things that are healing, and the fact that I've chosen to honor him as God has commanded, even after all the pain, even after all these things that have happened, making the choice to do what God has said, to honor our mother and father. I didn't have the chance with my mother, so I'm doing my best to do that with my father. So when he does pass, I've done my due diligence to not only be there for him as his son, but also to do some healing myself. And I'm also modeling this for my children, so that they can see the man that their father is, and what he's doing, even though it's painful and it's hard, that sometimes we need to do what is right, and hopefully this sets up the relationship with them, that when my time comes where I'm elderly, which is not that far away, they remember that, and they honor me and help look after me. So we hope that that's what's going to happen. The other thing that we need to do, and I know that we talk about this a lot and you're probably tired of hearing it, but we've got to learn to love ourselves. We have to. And we have to realize that the inner critic has done a tremendous job of telling us that we are absolutely not lovable, we are no good, we are junk, we are garbage. And I'll tell you that the only way that I overcame that was looking at faith and looking at God and realizing that Jesus died on the cross for me just like he did everyone else, and that if I don't learn to love myself, I'm basically telling Jesus that his sacrifice was not good enough for me. And to me, that's pretty arrogant, and that's disrespectful, and that's really representing myself to God in a very, very unhealthy and unsavory way. Because, how dare I tell the creator of the universe that your son's sacrifice wasn't good enough for me, because I'm just a turd. I'm a turd floating down the river. And that's not okay, because God said, hey, guess what, pal? I crafted you specifically. I crafted your life. I've been with you every moment. And you have a free will choice to take this and use it for my will and my purpose, or you can just be loathsome and suffer. And I have to make that decision. We have to make that decision even with God. He is omnipotent, and he's everywhere all at once, and he can do anything, but we do have free will, and we have to make the decision to not only to heal, but we have to make the decision to make God the number one part of our lives, and realize that the most healing we're going to receive is going to come from the actual creator of us, who understands us better than anyone ever, and who has been with us and experienced every single moment of our lives. And that can be hard, and that's where faith comes in, because we can't see him necessarily, right? We have to believe in the unseen, and know that he is there, and to lean on him. But I would be a complete hypocrite and a liar if I didn't tell you my own personal account, and that has been the absolute roots and the pinnacle of my healing journey, is addressing the actual moral and soul wounds. And God is the only one that can understand that, and the only one that can restore that. And then from those roots, you're able to have other things work, and work more abundantly and better, such as therapy, or self-healing practices, or being able to talk to other people that have experienced what you've been through. This leaves you much more open and receptive to these things being healthy and working towards your healing. And a huge part of this is that we have to love ourselves, and loving ourselves does not mean you're a narcissist. It doesn't mean that you're selfish. It doesn't mean that you're haughty or proud. We take this to an extreme. We tend to do that. It's either all or nothing with our thinking and our cognitive thinking abilities. And we need to realize that loving yourself simply means I love myself because God created me. I love myself because I need to take care of myself and preserve myself in order to do what God wants me to do, and also to serve others, such as my family, and to provide for them and to take care of them. I have to love myself enough to know that I have to take care of me, which is, making sure that I'm eating, making sure that I'm getting sleep, making sure that I'm getting exercise. Simple things involving self-care that are not selfish at all. They are actually self-preserving, so you can do the things that you need to do, so that you can be a good father or mother, or husband or wife, or a good person in your career, a good worker for God. So this is what I'm talking about when we have to love ourselves. And then we look at also what Jesus commands, that we need to love our neighbor as ourselves. And so we can't conceptualize ever loving our neighbor or treating our neighbor as we should if we don't know how to love ourselves. Okay, and so it simply means that we need to be able to look upon our neighbor and understand that those essential needs are important for them too. So by loving ourselves that way, we're able to look outside ourselves and say, hey, everybody deserves to have proper nutrition. Everybody deserves to have sleep. Everybody deserves to have a life that's not miserable. And so that gives us this ability, in tune with much of us having a lot of empathy based on what we've been through, to be a very positive part of society, and to help others and to receive the gift of helping others. And these are individuals that can't get helped by anybody but us, because we have the ability to give genuine compassion and empathy because we have been through literally what they've been through. And that breaks down a lot of barriers and a lot of walls when you're able to talk to others that genuinely understand. And it also sets up a relationship of trust, because you have a bond, and these are very personal things, and these are very vulnerable things, that we would never betray the other person's confidence, because we equally are giving up some of our vulnerabilities. And so this is a huge part of how we heal when we talk about loving ourselves. Many of us, we need to get over our pride. We need to get over our self-sufficiency. We need to get over our outer critic that's telling us that everybody else in the world is out to hurt us and destroy us. We have to get over that and realize that God has crafted other people on this earth to be helpers, and that is their spiritual gift. But it's not only that, it is their passion, and it's what validates them. And this is how it works, because most of my healing now comes from my experiences being validated when I'm able to help other people, and to help them maybe take a left instead of a right turn when they need to help them not suffer as I have. It's a tremendously affirming and validating experience to be able to help someone else not have to go through what you did, or to be able to walk alongside of them and shoulder that load with them when you were not able to, when you had to do this. And so God does all of this for that purpose, so that we can do that. And it really is a beautiful gift. Many times we feel like it's a curse, but it really is a tremendous gift, to be able to genuinely love other people and to help them in a way that no one else can, because they don't have that intimate knowledge and experience based on what they've been through. So this is something that we need to get over, whether it's a seasoned mental health professional that understands, or it's peer support, or it's other individuals that are on their healing journey. We need to relinquish some of our control and some of our fear, and realize that we're going to need God, and we're going to need some of the helpers that God has put on this earth in order to be successful in this healing journey. And to realize that that's not being weak, it's not being any of the things that we've been stigmatized to believe. It's actually quite the contrary, to be able to be vulnerable, and to trust, and to be able to let your guard down. It takes a tremendous amount of strength. So we're going to talk about, before we close this video, just two simple differences when we're looking at healing from the father wound as a man versus being a woman or a boy or a girl. The number one thing for men to really, really have a good strategy to heal from the father wound is to not be like our father. Subconsciously, many times we do this before we even start our healing journey. I, in particular, went into fatherhood, and I read a lot of books and a lot of self-help and all of these things before we had our first child, because I desperately didn't want to be my father. I also married someone that I knew would hold me accountable. I don't like it, of course. I don't like to be held accountable, but you make a choice to have someone in your life that isn't afraid to tell you, hey, you're being like your father, because it's that important. That I didn't want to be like my father. And I'm not going to tell you that I don't still do that. I mean, it's ingrained in us. It's even part of the epigenetic factors, where it's in our genome, our gene expression. Everything has been altered by this developmental piece. And so we need to understand that we have some predisposition. We have a lot of modeling. We have basically all of our development was in this dysfunctional zone. And so it's very, very hard to not enact some of these behaviors subconsciously. Many of them are not consciously because we are fully intent to not be like our Father. But many times when we react, we discover that our emotional intelligence or whatever will sometimes exemplify our Father. And so it's important to have people that aren't afraid to hold you accountable in a loving way, not a hateful way, but in a loving, supportive way, so that you can be the best version of yourself and to not show up like your Father did. And I'm not going to tell you you're going to be perfect, because that would be a terrible lie. We're not going to be perfect, but we can be much, much better. And we can continue to be better. Just because your kids are grown and they're out the house doesn't mean that you don't need to keep working on yourself, because that relationship continues to evolve even with our adult children. And then we need to understand what we're going to look like as a grandfather someday as well, okay? So we need to think about that. We need to continue to work on ourselves. And this is a tremendous strategy for men to heal, is for us to understand that we do not have to be the same make and model as our Father, that we have the power to change and to be a better version, and to not only be a better version, but also to help craft, with God's help, of course, our sons, if we have sons, to be better men than we are. And so there's a tremendous gift there and opportunity there if we look at that. With girls or women, the strategy is that they need to work very, very hard. You know, that we talked about that whole term daddy issues, which I think is ridiculous. I have 2 daughters, so I'm pretty sensitive to this. You know, as a father, I absolutely want her to be with a better version than what I am. I want my daughters to marry a better man than I am, because I love my daughters. I want them to seek secure partners that have, you know, better attachment strategies, that are healthier, that are not living in rage and violence and abuse and all of these things. And so this is something that's really important for girls and young women to overcome the father wound, is that they need to not succumb to the pattern and end up with more dysfunctional men like their father was, if the father wound is there. And we look at that in both ways. When we say secure partner, it needs to be someone that's not going to abandon them or cheat on them or any of these things to make them feel less than. So you need to look for secure partners that show up, that are consistent, that you can trust. And this is going to help you in your healing journey, because it's going to help you understand that not all men are like the father who wounded you. And that by doing that, you also, as a mother and as a wife, are going to be healthier, and you're going to be able to give more healthy attributes to your kids, which is going to keep them from having any kind of mother wound based on your own trauma. So the final word here is that this is absolutely achievable. I would love to say that it's easily achievable, but I'm not going to be patronizing, because I know how that feels, and it's not easy. Okay, it's going to be challenging, but it is much less challenging than continuing to live in your dysfunction, to continue to live with that father wound. It really is a hamster wheel. We're never going to get anywhere. We're just going to keep going in a circle. And every time we have an emotional flashback or a setback or a triggering experience, it's like we're being put back to ground zero. And so we do have to make that decision, no matter how difficult it is, that, you know, I'm going to enter into this healing journey, and I know it's going to be tough, but I know that if I lean on God, and I lean on good people that truly understand this, that are exemplifying that by me seeing their healing journey and what they've overcome, that example that's been put into place by God with these individuals is a wonderful blueprint, and it's proof, it's evidence. Those of us with CPTSD, we're looking for evidence. We're like a forensic analyst when it comes to everything with relationships and everything else, because we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're always waiting for somebody to fail us or to abandon us or to harm us. And so when we look at it analytically and we are put around people that have been through a lot and we're watching them live a better life, a healthier life, and not only that, they've journeyed into, where I am in life, where I'm trying to help other people. This is a tremendous gift, not only to you, but to that person that has that chance to help you. So I want you to realize that there can be a lot of good, there can be a lot of blessings that come out of this when you make that decision to start healing. If you have questions or concerns, please message, comment. We do our best. I do my best here to help anyone I can. I will even do my best to help you assimilate to resources that are in your area. And of course, I am always here to help if you need me to, with genuine understanding, never any judgment, and with genuine care. I hope you've enjoyed this series on the father wound, and I really truly hope that you got something from these videos that will help you begin to heal or to make the decision to start healing. And most of all, I just want you to know that you're not alone, not at all by any means, that we have a loving Father in heaven that is there to love us and guide us through this, and that he also has crafted individuals through the fires of life to be here to help you as well. And so there's absolutely hope. There's never hopelessness. This is another episode of Dancing with the Darkness, and as we dance with that darkness, remember that we can always lead that dance. That darkness never has to gain control. It never has to be in charge. It's part of us, and we have to embrace it, but we can continue on and persevere and make something beautiful out of our lives. Until next time, God bless each and every one of you, and we look forward to the next time we come together with our next video. Take care.